Welcome to the TEC Report podcast, where we help businesses survive, thrive, and create value.
Welcome, everybody, to the TEC Report, the podcast that is all about helping businesses survive, thrive, and create value, especially in our trying environment today. Well, I'm your host, Brad Stoller. Well, businesses have reopened. Restaurants and bars quickly became very busy. Now, unfortunately, they are shutting down all over the country again, with the coronavirus cases hitting over 3 million. So while the economy appears to be going strong, where do we go from here? So one of the industries that has done very well through this pandemic and really shows no signs of letting up is the managed services industry. In fact, many have become extremely busy trying to help their clients pivot to more of their workforce working remotely. So there are going to be challenges going on in every business, and today's guest is here to talk about some of those challenges and what you can do to modify your business technology as well to keep everyone's data safe and secure. So our guest is the Vice President in charge of MSP services for ImageNet Consulting. He's a Technology Council member for Forbes. That's right, Forbes, the big magazine. And he is Vice Chair, Channel Development Advisory Council for CompTIA. And for those of you who don't know what CompTIA is, they're the organization really kind of responsible for the education, cybersecurity, anything to technology along those lines. That's what they're all about. So he's written numerous articles, publications, and he's just an accomplished speaker and is considered one of the top industry experts in the managed services industry. He's also been featured in the book MSP Secrets Revealed, where he discusses how you should treat your customers like you were dating. It's an interesting twist, great read. And of course, the most impressive of all, and I know I left a lot of things out here because we'd be here all day if I put down everything he's done, but the most impressive of all, and at least in my opinion, was that he was the big winner at the MSP Shark Tank, and he won a deal with Barbara Corcoran and some of the other sharks.
And the winner is Juan.
ImageNet. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You guys did a great job.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So without any further delay, our guest today is Juan Fernandez. Juan, welcome to the TEC Report.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, great. Well, Juan, you've been a very successful entrepreneur over your career, and I know you've had some ups and downs, just like everybody out here that's listening today, and myself included. Tell us how your life experiences really led you to being one of the most successful MSP operators in the world.
Well, your check's in the mail. So thanks for that great introduction. It's interesting to hear all the stuff that it takes to, really make an impact. And, a lot of what I've done and a lot of what I continue to do is driven by passion, and I think that that's a big component of why we all start doing whatever it is we're doing in our career. And for me, thinking back to the yesteryears of where I started off, you mentioned CompTIA, and it always strikes a chord with me because I remember being on the AOL help desk. I remember leaving finance industry to actually go chase this new thing called the internet. And
that's right.
Oh man, working on dial-up modems and really, understanding how technology worked. I wanted to be part of this, and truth be told, I shouldn't actually be here because where I come from, I was met with tons of opposition in the early years. Not a lot of positive reinforcement. Everyone thought, IT was a fad. I grew up on, in a very rural area, similar to like probably many others. And internet wasn't even something that was available. I mean, we barely had phone lines right back then. So, it wasn't something that I was destined to do. If I was to follow the path that was immediately in front of me, I would have been more in trades or some other thing. And, it was just one of those things, I wasn't willing to accept that, that was an opportunity. And I think, just like everybody else here, I was a small MSP owner. I had worked my way up through, the ranks of learning technology. And pushing myself to get certified through CompTIA and really understanding how technology worked to really be able to make an impact. Because that was the important thing to me, was to be the best that I could possibly be, even back then.
Right.
I wanted to make a difference, and I think that all of us in business all start that way, right? We think we can make an impact and we feel like there's something there. And so I started my own IT company, just like everyone else, bootstrapped, I had no money, was working for the federal government, decided to cash in my 401k and go and start my own business. And I didn't know what I was doing, but ironically, I was in my 20s. I had every bit of me was saying, I'm going to be successful at this. And to my demise, it was a really successful business. I built it up to a multi-million-dollar back in the day. Break fix, monitoring, maintenance, and management haven't really come around yet. But it was a break fix organization. We had a little retail organization. We were doing business with federal government. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I wasn't good at business. And even though we were positioned for a sale to sell to another company, couple missteps and I lost everything that I had, so I learned a very painful lesson in my young years of the reasons that I needed to know how to be a business person. Losing everything that you have is not something that, it's really difficult, right? There's so many things that go into the forces around what you're never going to do again. And that's really what my life's been paved with, is learning fast, failing fast. I've not been successful my whole life, and I'm willing to admit that. But the things that I have learned and the stories and opportunities and challenges that I faced, I'm willing to share. And I think that that's, kind of, as you read a few things off, it made me proud, because I've been able to share that message, and today is similar. I'm hoping to share something that'll be impactful to those that are looking to start or are in process.
I think a lot of things that you just said, hey, let's face it, every entrepreneur or if you've ever owned a business, you can relate just exactly to what, Juan, you said about the ups and downs. You think you've got it, and just when you think things are going great, you hit that wall, and next thing you know, many people listening today have lost it all after they've gained it all. So, well, anyways, so I saw your episode of MSP Shark Tank. That was just awesome. I really enjoyed watching that. You really had some tough competition. I was so impressed with the quality of everybody was there, but your presentation and really accomplishments of high growth, I believe you said something about quadrupling every 6 months for your first 2.5 years, which actually just blew Barbara away, because she said, no, that was 5 years, right? And you said, no, 2.5. And she just about fell off her chair when you said that. But I think that was part of what led you to the win and the cash for ImageNet Consultants. But I really think there was one more thing that I thought was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you meant to do this or not. And if you didn't, then just say you did, and we'll all think you're brilliant. But in your presentation, you wore in fact, it kind of looks like the coat you're wearing today, your jacket.
It kind of does look like
it. It kind of does, doesn't it? So that was given to you by your daughters, at least I understand. And I think when you mentioned that during the presentation, when Barbara actually, she started saying, but Juan, that jacket, it's got to go. And then you remember that? And then you said, well, hey, this was given to me by my daughters, and that's why I'm wearing it. There's a lot of personal attachments to this. And I think that tipped the scales. And honestly, I think you hit an emotional part, which is a big part of sales. And you got the win. So, well, tell us about that competition. And, how your operations led to that huge win.
So there is an interesting story. As you mentioned, I think that you're gleaning something that we all need to. And I think back to the comment I gave in MSP Secrets is think about dating your customer. And so irregardless, I mean, I was on that stage, and I'm not going to lie. So this is the jacket, right? So this is the Shark Tank.
I thought it was.
Jacket. It is. And I brought it specifically because you mentioned you're going to say something about it. And I don't bring it out very often because it is near and dear to my heart. But
only when it's really, really important and counts, right?
Yeah, it was super brutal, right? It was one of those moments in time where I'm up against really strong competition. And I
Yeah, they
didn't
were.
do it to go and win. I did it because I wanted to go and have fun. I wanted to tell show our salespeople and everybody that was doing business with us, my internal teams and everyone, that, hey, we have a revolutionary product. We have something that is completely different than anybody's ever done, and it's super special. And I just wanted to show them, hey, I'm going to go and lead by example, and we're going to have fun with this. So I entered just half-heartedly thinking, yeah, we may make it. When we made the Final Four, I was kind of shocked. But then when we actually made it on stage and it was time to go and I saw who was there, it was something else, right? And you're right. I do think that, the jacket, although it was definitely from my daughters, and they do know, they've actually mentioned it many times, they were going to buy me the pants. And I actually said that at Barbara. I said, could you imagine if they had bought the pants? I'd really look like a fool. But for those of you that have a little nostalgia background or have been around for a little while or watched, we've been quarantined to this, so you may have run across that Back to the Future video. You remember Doc, how he had those cool silver glasses that went
Oh,
across
yeah.
his face?
You got it.
My whole talk track was about welcome to the future. So I had planned to put those glasses on with this jacket. And that was the only thing I had on stage with me, right? So I lost the glasses in the airport, apparently sometime during, they had checked my bag, apparently, and they took them away because they had some sort of metal in them. But that being said, I didn't have those glasses. But you're right, the competition was stiff. It was probably one of the first times in my life that I actually got nervous in front of anybody, because they were pretty brutal on stage.
They really were. They were really, especially Barbara. She was, boy,
Yeah.
she's does not hold back.
It was when you hear some stuff that's thrown around. For those of you who are joining us today, that video is out on the internet on YouTube. You guys can find it and actually go watch it. But
I'll make sure and put so people can get a link to that so they can see it if they want to. So
yeah,
it's awesome.
It's just it was an interesting conversation, But the one thing that happened in there, and I think the one thing that led to us, and I wasn't, we were growing fast, and we're still growing fast. We're continuing to grow fast. But the thing is that what they asked for was not what I gave them. They asked for something specific, and I think that everybody can glean a little insight from here, because I didn't give them what they asked for. I gave them what they didn't ask for, but what they wanted. And what they wanted was business outcomes, right? And that's the thing is, as technology people, is we know what customers want, but what they need are two different things. And how do you build that specific message around it is what I was trying to do there. So when I said welcome to the future, it wasn't necessarily that I was talking about anything in particular. I was talking about, enabling the customers to employ the mobile workforce, which with COVID, we just saw, right?
Here we are.
We were a little ahead of the game and right there,
Yep.
Allowing customer easier expansion, lower overhead, human capital, quicker return on investment from increased productivity. Those were the things that they really wanted. They didn't want to hear about the security. They didn't want to hear about what's next. Like, what technology stack do you have, and, how do you package it? All they cared about was, show me how you're going to change my business. So that's what we handed them. And it was really fun. I'm glad that we won. At first, I didn't know that we were going to. I was actually thinking I needed to get sick and exit stage left, because I didn't know if I could do it. I mean, they had videos and presentations and all these other things and tchotchkes and like these acts. And I mean, I gave away my time the day before. I was like, you know what? I'm just here to have fun. Why don't they use my time? I'll be fine. I went back and watched Storage Wars. So I wasn't rehearsed at all. I went up there and whatever came out was what happened. So thank God it worked out, because I was thinking, do I need to hide in a bush? Like, who knows I'm here? Can I hide if I lose? Those types of things. So it was really fortunate that it was impactful.
Well, that's absolutely fascinating. And you did say a couple things in there, but you didn't give them what they asked for, but you gave them what they wanted.
Yeah. Right.
And that's not easy to do. Steve Jobs was probably the best ever at it.
Yeah.
I think he was always saying that I don't care what they think they want. I'm going to give them what they don't want. He's very, very similar to that.
Yeah.
So it worked for him, I guess, and it worked for you. So I guess there's a moral to that, I guess. So stop trying to sell them and ask them what they want, because they don't know what they want sometimes. So
yeah.
But anyways, let's get back on. So we know that all businesses really, they do need to grow. And many are struggling with all the competition and the economic conditions today. There's just a lot going on. Tell us about your incredible growth in the short amount of time you've been with ImageNet Consultants.
Yeah.
And give us some takeaways that business owners and managers, I don't care what industry you're in, but what can they get out of your success?
Well, I will say this, I have, ever since we started off, we started off in a different direction. When we first started off at ImageNet, I decided to come back into industry after being a CIO of a college. I went back in industry after I got worked over on my first IT company, went and built a bunch of different corporations. I built education and healthcare and federal government, and also went into education was one of the other things that I had never built. And so I built a bunch of organizations and really tried to understand from a buyer's perspective the emotions that board members and presidents and CFOs and CEOs all on what are the emotions and emotional intelligence that goes into making a purchase. So I did several years of research, and I did it as work in those industries to understand the vertical operations as well as internal operations. And so when we create products and services, I say this all the time, is that I wouldn't create a product or sell a product that I wouldn't buy.
Right.
And
right.
so I think that that's the one biggest thing. And the reason that I do that is because if I can sell it to myself, then I can sell it to somebody else. And I can understand all the portions that go into the value prop and all the other things that are important. So ImageNet as a company is a print company. They've never sold technology like ours, like managed services before. And so moving that ship in a different direction required a lot of intelligence around sales motions and understanding why people make decisions and educating people on different aspects. We created it from the beginning as the ImageNet difference because we wanted to be different than everyone else. We didn't want to be the same. We knew we were different, but we wanted to be unique. And one of the things that we really focused on was the outcomes that we delivered. What do we do for our customers? One of the common phrases that I teach everybody internally is that we've really grown because we provide and deliver quality business outcomes through the thoughtful use of technology. That's a completely different sales message than, we just do monitor, maintenance, and management.
Exactly.
And I think that, we really focused on what you'll start to hear a lot about is, CX as a service, customer experience as a service, and that think through motion of instead of just delivering a good experience to your customer, we have this whole X as a service thing that I started at the Shark Tank, of, packaging and pricing product and hardware and services into a meaningful pricing model. But now we're bolting the C onto the front of it so that the technology is utilized for our end user customer, and we're translating a customer experience through the use of technology to the end user's customer. So we're really working to be a trusted partner versus just being a trusted advisor. And I think that that's really been the one thing that's moved the needle for us over these years was we just have always tried to be innovative and different.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense. I know that there's a lot of, and you and I know this because we've worked together in the past a little bit. And you had some challenges when you took over with your sales force because they were geared towards one thing, and
Right.
so they didn't buy into this yet. And I think they've done a pretty good job the way it sounds. So, but a lot of people will still go out there and say we have the best fill in the blank.
Right.
We are the best service because we do fill in the blank.
Right.
And all they do is they talk about what they do and they kind of ignore the customer. And that's not the customer experience that the customer wants. They don't care about what you do. They only care about what you can do for them.
Yeah.
If you think you're kidding yourself if you think it's anything other than that. But what you're saying is go a step even farther than that. And that is, what can we do for your customers?
Yeah.
And that's an area that is not charted yet. Very few people understand that, and I think that's a great message here. What you're saying.
You got to think forward, right? So
exactly.
Like I said, they're looking for a trusted partner. right? They're not looking
Yes.
for trust. Don't tell me how to do things. Tell me how you're going to
Yep.
work with me to improve my business, right? Right now, in the current status of things, it's important for us to partner with our customer, because without them, there is no us, right? So there's no
That's right.
reason for us to try to go find somebody that's willing to just throw money at us that's not meaningful, right? You got to build
Exactly.
those long-term relationships. I talked about it in the MSP Secrets, how you have to date them.
Yep.
I'm not just dating them just so that I can, have a dinner with them and go on my way. Like, you need to make it a meaningful relationship for a long period of time.
Yep.
So,
Exactly. So, well, good stuff. So we know that businesses really, okay, let's face it, they all have to have reliable networks and they have to have that infrastructure in order to even stay open in
yeah,
today's environment.
yeah.
What are you seeing out there in the business world, and what do business owners really need for their networks? And how can they use technology to help them get through this unprecedented pandemic era?
It's right now is the best time, and I'm really, honestly, I'm a nerd at heart, right? I truly am inspired by this time, and everyone's seen it as a negative, right? And I think for a lot of us, my hat's off to everybody that has actually suffered during this time. I'm with you. I get it. We've all had suffered some heartache and hardship, but there's a rainbow at the end of there's light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a rainbow. And it's just a matter of looking for that opportunity. And right now, that opportunity is how to help your customers innovate. For all of us, even me, when I was down on my last dollar and I had to figure out creative ways to be successful, this is that moment,
Right.
right? This is that pressure that's being placed on us to create the diamond, and that is the innovation that it's going to create, because we're at that point. People don't have money. It's not a time for us to be able to go out and say, "Hey, you need to spend $50,000 on this hardware platform." Thinking forward, understanding that I need to be delivering a customer experience to them, I need to be thinking in advance of the technology stacks that I'm going to be incorporating. What's going to make them mobile? Cloud.
Exactly.
What's going to give them remote capabilities? Hybrid, or infrastructure as a service. We need to start thinking about our technology stacks. We need to start considering those paths forward and creating this new evolution and revolution of technology stacks and offerings that we can provide to our end user customer, focusing on how they deliver business, because the ones that are winning right now are the ones that are making it easy to do business with them.
Yes, they
And
are.
those customers are the ones that have the money that can subscribe to our technology services. So we're seeing a lot of innovation, and I'm truly inspired by it, because I like I said, I geek out about this because I came into the industry because I love technology, and I saw that there was a wave of technology coming, and I'm super excited about it now, because now we're forced, and finally, the MSPs, technology solution providers, everybody, the ears are open from everybody looking for what's next. How do I do this? Can you help me with my business right now? Because I need technology solutions, but you got to be thoughtful on how you're putting them together. So, really understanding your value proposition around those technology solutions and the way you're presenting them to customers. Again, forward thinking, how am I impacting their business and supporting them to make them successful? All that matters. You can add that into any different kind of moniker in regards to hardware or any manufacturer that you want, but you need to have a compelling message around how you're doing it, and how you're being successful and how they're going to be successful.
Yep, exactly. And you mentioned that you embrace this time, and a lot of
Yeah,
people are still, just you almost can feel that they're just kind of
yeah,
shrinking back, and and trying to hide under the nearest rock they can find and try and
yeah.
survive. But not too long ago, I did an episode with Pastor Scott Stevens, and his message was simple, and it's sometimes things have to break in order
Mhm.
to have a breakthrough.
Right.
And I thought that was just awesome. That's kind of one of my mottos that I go by as well, because I'm living that right now, and,
Yeah.
and a lot of us are. So, anyways, so what do you think the number one mistake is when business owners and managers, what are they what are they making as they're trying to grow right now as far as mistakes, and really what do you think they should be focusing in on?
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, kind of tying what you asked before and this one together, right now is an important time. If I don't know who you are, it's really hard for me to do business with you. And for those businesses that are out there, they're turning to social media, they're turning to digital mediums, they're turning to all these different types of online presence,
Podcasts.
Yep, podcasts like this one for advice, right?
Exactly.
And if
Exactly.
you're not making your customer aware of your capabilities, I had a long conversation with somebody yesterday around, they asked, well, how do I do that? Well, you just create your message. One of the things we focus a lot on is the speeds and feeds of what we're doing and describing our product. Monitoring, maintenance, and management isn't a compelling message. I'm just going to be straight up.
Right.
If you're still talking about that, that's not going to win you the prize because here's what will happen. And you all know this. And for those of you that are just getting into it, you're probably experiencing it. As soon as I talk about monitoring, maintenance, management, well, my IT company does that now.
Yep.
So how are you cheaper is the next question. Right.
Exactly.
And there's no value in zero, everybody. I mean, let's just get that out there. Right. So a lot of things that are happening right now, we need to stop focusing on what we do versus what we do for our customer. We really need to focus on our story, and for us, it's the, what do you do? Why do you do it differently? Why, how do you do it? Right. And what's the client benefit? How do they benefit from all those things? Well, your computer stays up to date. And you get patched. Table stakes, guys, and gals, you need to start considering how are you really moving the needle for your end customer. And again, on the front end of that, how are you impacting their business? Again, back to the CX as a service. What you're doing is helping their customer. That's a compelling sales message. If you focus just on that, like, hey, I'm going to help you win business because we're going to import all these technology things and make you more mobile and be able to adapt to the changing, digital futures. Well, that's a great message. I need to know about that, right? Again, back to the future buyer. For everybody that's here, we all have children or we're young enough to understand that we don't buy the same way anymore. We're buying as a service, right? I need to save.
Exactly.
I don't have $50,000 today. I have $600 today, and I can afford that $600 today to do business today and tomorrow, right? And for 30 days, I know that I can move my business forward instead of just this huge capital outlay. That's just not how it works anymore. So the future buyer has changed, and so that's changed the message. And in turn, it really kind of creates this really dangerous line that I cross over, and it's stop focusing on the bottom line. It's just really hard. It's a hard message to hear. That
Now, hang on a second, because now, what do you mean stop focusing on the bottom line? Hey, that's every CEO's credo, right? The bottom line. I don't care what you do. I just care about my bottom line, right? That's a CEO, right? Am I right or wrong?
Well, I can't say. There are different kinds of leaders, right? But I will say that
Exactly.
The bottom line, you can be related in a bunch of different ways. But for me, right, and my advice is, if you have a product that sells, you shouldn't have to worry about what the bottom line looks like. Yes, you should definitely pay attention to it, but stop worrying about it, because worrying about a bottom line creates a insecurity about your product. And truth be told, maybe you need to reconsider what it is you're doing, your product or your product line or what it is. I mean, sometimes that you may need to just admit that this may not be the product for this generation, and that's a hard conversation to have.
That is a hard conversation to have.
Or right now, innovate. How are you creating it? How are you creating a compelling story to match your product up with the future buyer? Those are the conversations I think that I need to have, right? I need to say that because everybody knows, and we don't want to think about it, right? We don't want to think that maybe our product isn't somebody wants. It's not that it's not. It's just that you're finding the no, right? You need to find the yes, and the yes is what sells that product. And that is a compelling message on how you're going to impact my business. If you're just standing there with your hand out waiting for someone to buy something, hoping that somebody comes by at some point to buy your wares, not putting yourself out there, not making people aware, not, and really just focusing on, how am I going to pay my rent this month? That's really hard. And so I've been there. I've been to the value of zero many times. So I can tell you that staring at the bottom line never changed anything for me. It was when I finally started realizing what was important and really focusing on our customers.
Exactly. So, it's kind of ironic because, one of the things that you paid me to say good things about you, right? So you open up. Let's get that out in the open.
Yeah.
So, and we're using Bitcoin because I don't trust it. I don't want any checks in the mail. I'm just kidding. But one of the things we talked about was, the growth and the high growth. And I think a lot of people were expecting, well, here's a technique we tried. Here's a technique we tried. I did this and I got this service. You didn't say any of that.
No.
What you have said is just, you need to take care of your customers.
Yeah.
And that's the message I'm getting out of this. So I hope I'm getting it right, but I think I am.
Nailed.
So you've talked about a lot, and we've covered a lot, and we could go on and on because I think you could go on and on yourself. You've got so much information, but we do have to wrap it up before too long here, or they're gonna kick us off the air. So what are we missing? We talked about a lot of things. So what should business owners factor in? When it comes to their networks and growing their business that we just haven't talked about, and you feel you really need to make sure they understand. Is there anything else you got it?
Couple things. First thing is, my motto for making IT simple, and it's been my lifelong goal, is to provide quality products and services that everybody can afford and add so much value that they can't afford not to.
I love that.
I think you really need to focus on how customers win with your product before you ever get to the bargaining table, because just like any other plan, if I feel like I've won with you before I even talk to you, then I will definitely win with you once I've had a conversation. So there's that. And then secondly, you started your business off because you had a passion. I know, I was there. I wasn't willing to let my business die under any circumstances.
Right.
It was what it was. It was something I needed to learn a lesson. And that's fine. But building your compelling story and communicating that passion, illustrating how your passion will help you get your target customer and their prospective customers a win is the message that you need to be portraying. And I think that, really focusing of moving beyond the trusted advisor to the trusted partner is a message that everybody and every company and every business that's out there probably needs to really start embracing is, how do I truly partner with these businesses to keep them alive so that we all stay alive? And I think together we all win. And really appreciate the opportunity and thank you for letting me voice that.
Well, you've really just hit a lot of good nuggets here today. So I am grateful for you to be here today, and I really think that a lot of people are going to learn a lot from you today. And I really hope that I just learn it, but to actually do something with it and apply it. So if somebody has some questions about everything we've covered here today, or maybe they just want to reach out to you, say thank you, whatever it may be, how can they get in touch with you, Juan?
Well, I'm out on social media, right? So for those that are interested and want to connect, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. It's Juan Fernandez. You're more than welcome. You can Google and find me on YouTube. You can, like I said, LinkedIn is a great place. I'm also part of the Channel Futures MSP Mentors. So you can find me out there commenting around. You're more than welcome to join the Facebook group or the LinkedIn group and ask some questions. I usually spend evenings out on those social media platforms helping out. So feel free to reach me in any numerous amount of ways, and I'd be glad to help out.
All right, sounds terrific. And once again, a special thanks to Juan Fernandez for taking the time out of his busy schedule today to help us get a better perspective on growing your business, whatever industry you happen to be in. So Juan, thanks again for being with us here today.
Thanks so much for having me. Goodbye, everybody.
And the winner is Juan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Congratulations.